Hello, football fanatics, and welcome to the Real Talk FC. I hope you guys are all doing well, keeping safe, and welcome if you're new to the channel. We talk all things football on this channel, and today I have my two regular guests, Clyde and Triv. How are you guys doing? I'm sure you're all doing well at the top of the table.
You can go first. You're on top.
Yeah, look, it's been quite an intense season, man. All the injuries and stuff, but yeah, Liverpool seem to be powering through it. And then, yeah, they were also very clinical against Crystal Palace. It was nice to see, quite a nice complete performance for a change. But yeah, so let's see how this December period I think will be a defining period for most of the clubs. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Triv, you also happy in the top four, lingering around that top?
Yeah, it's good to be able to see the top of the table. We've been so far ahead, so far behind for so long that I was literally not even worried about how many points the leaders were ahead. So at least now I'll be like, oh, I can count on one hand how many points they are ahead compared to having to take.
So
out my
how does
calculator and
that look
start.
like? What does the top of the table look like? Like I don't know. I haven't seen it for years, and we're sinking further below.
So
Like
it usually has like number one and then the team name and then the points and
it's
then
the same
number
as the
two and the
bottom.
team
It's
name.
just the numbers.
Same as the bottom, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's
Okay,
just that
well.
but it starts from one. I don't know
The
if you know
difference
that
is
if
at
you've gotten.
the bottom of the league, you want to be above that dotted line.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we are
Yeah.
three places above the 2 places above. I don't even know. I've never been in this position. So, yeah, a few places just above the dotted line. So things are looking good. One more win, and we'll jump a little more higher. So in the next 10 games, I hope we can get a win, and then it will be okay. But fortunately for me, we're not here to talk about the Premier League. We want to talk about players that had a lot of hype around them, had a lot of potential, as some people would have put it, and they didn't go on to fulfill that potential or that hype. And Triv, I think you if you want to add anything to that, what are we looking for when we're looking at these players? Like, because obviously I might have hyped some player when I was younger, and then he didn't really go on to fulfill my expectation of potential. So what do you
Yeah, I think.
what are we looking at here when we talk about these players?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's lots of things that sort of can make a kid defined as one of these wonder kids or starlets. I think the old football managers used to call them. One is what you mentioned is just fans watching their under 23 teams play, their under 18 teams play. The other one is media outlets that will read reports of some kid in Bolivia that scored 85 goals in one half of football, and they just hype that player up. I think there's also, and this is something that I want to speak about later, but players that score an absolute shed load of goals at youth team level and then don't replicate that, or not necessarily goals, for defenders that just perform really well at youth team level
Yeah.
and aren't able to take that to the next level. And then there's any player in South America who has the number 10 on his back, who immediately gets touted as the next greatest thing in the world. So yeah, I think for me, I think those are the different types of characteristics or different things that would result in a player being called a star boy or a wonder kid or whatever you want to call it. How about you, Clyde? Anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I think that's about right. It's about all of those factors contributing to a lot of hype, and it's like, especially with fans, and more so in the modern age with social media and whatever, you get onto YouTube, and a lot of YouTube scouting and things like that is
Yeah,
done.
Yeah.
yeah, those YouTube
And
videos.
and I think that is also one of those things that really, really puts a lot of pressure or creates if I want to call it, an overinflated estimation of that player's ability. And so I think that's a big part of, especially the modern day fandom, if you want to call it that, because in the old days they didn't have that this, so it was largely relied on word of mouth from fans seeing you in the youth team or whatever, or you'll see a player perform well at the World Cup and something like that. Then that players will fall
I
in
think
love
that
with
we
your
can make a
country
whole
and so
starting
on.
11 with those players that
Plenty of
performed
plenty
in the
of-
World Cup. Yeah. Okay,
So
so
I think that largely sums it up for me. As
yeah, well, so now we've kind of established which players or what kind of prospects we will be looking at. Trev, who did you have on your list? So we'll go for three each.
Yeah.
If we have any similar players, then maybe we can add another one. But let's see how long we go on for, and depending on time, we can add maybe a few more.
Yeah. So I think for me, the first one that I've gone for an international one, a player closer to Man United. So the international one, I think everyone knows about, and I'm sorry if I steal this from one of you guys, but Freddie Adu, the one that was touted across the entire world to be. I think Pele even called him my hair at some point,
Wow.
and I don't even think anyone knows where Freddie Adu is at the moment. And I know he's still playing football. I think he's playing in the second division in Denmark or something ridiculous like that. So for me, the first one that had a whole bunch of hype that just never cut the mustard in any form of top European league was Freddie Adu. I don't know if any of you guys have any feelings about him or even know who he is.
No, I actually have no idea who that is.
I had him on my
Clyde?
list.
Yeah.
I had him on my list. So I made notes of the players that I obviously chose, and just so you know, Freddie Adu is still only 31 years old, right?
Yeah.
He turned pro at 14 years old. So he signed for, I can't remember, I think it was DC United or something like that at the age of 14. So it was a huge hype trade. Obviously, it was just before the MLS boomed, around the David Beckham era and so on. But still, it was a huge hype. And oddly enough, the last time he made an appearance for the international team for the USA was 9 years ago at the age of 22. So quite a sad ending for him.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, I have no clue who this player was. Maybe that hype didn't reach. What year was this?
30.
It would have
What
been
is it?
around
16
2000s.
years ago.
Yeah, but
Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
2000s
Yeah.
around there, yeah.
Well, that hype didn't reach Kenya where I grew up, so we didn't know about this player. But okay, Clyde, so you had him. Who else did you have?
Okay, so I'm gonna get the controversial one out of the way now.
Yeah,
So
go
Paul
for it.
Pogba.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Wait, who did
So,
you go for?
look,
Paul Pogba.
Right. Okay. Right. So look, I think let me just clarify here. Unfulfilled potential doesn't mean poor player. I'm just saying not at the levels that we expected him to get to. Right. So, I mean, when we heard at the time when he was leaving Manchester United to go to Juventus and so on, there was a bit of a story around it as well. That's the first time I think fans who weren't United fans started to hear about Pogba, right? And then obviously when he went to Juventus, we actually saw this. We saw what the hype was
Yeah.
about. And at that age, he was controlling games. He was bossing things even at European level. Okay, to think that is what 27, 28 now, around there. That you think that with that he has all he has the physical attributes, he has the technical attributes, but for reasons that I won't go into too much, I think because we've spoken so much about Pogba, he hasn't lived up to that level. I mean, personally, I think he has the attributes to be a Ballon d'Or winner, a Ballon d'Or contender at least, and he's definitely not at that level at the moment.
Trev, do you have anything to defend that argument?
No, I'm not going to defend it. I will say this. It depends I think a large part of where the criticism comes against Paul Pogba is the expectations of people have of him as a player. And I think that what can be defined as him having a successful career, I'm talking footballing wise, not trophy wise. We'll leave the World Cup story out of this. I think players like him and Mesut Ozil, they're dependent on world class players around them, that they click with and stuff like that. And I think an aspect of that has held Paul Pogba back. However, even with the Man United shirt on, I'm not going to defend that because I do think that Paul Pogba at club level has fallen short of what I agree with Clyde. I think he's got the footballing ability, just the pure technique to be a Ballon d'Or contender, and he's not. And I think if you're looking at it like that, then yeah, Paul Pogba for me is definitely not achieved the heights that he was touted to achieve when, so definitely in his second season at Juventus, when he was just ridiculous for that age and at that level. Yeah, how about you, Rahil?
Yeah, I would just say that he's still 27, so he has the potential still to get to that level. But if you're looking, obviously we're in 2020 and we're looking at from the present point of view, then I understand Clyde's point of view. I just think there's a lot other more players out there that could go in that category. I personally, the part where I agree with is I know that he has, sorry, he has the attributes to be the best midfielder in the world, hands down. He has the physical power, the technical ability, the engine, like everything. But yeah, maybe if you look, because we have put him in such a high regard and because of the qualities he has, he has fallen short, and you can't deny that. I just think that the players who've fallen much shorter, maybe in the past, in the previous periods, but it's not a bad shout for Paul Pogba. So I'll move it on from there.
What about you?
Yeah, I've gone for Alexandre Pato. Do you remember him? So when
Yeah.
he first burst onto
Yeah,
the scene,
yeah.
he was regarded like all the Brazil legends were talking him up, and in Brazil, I think he started off really really well, and then he moved to Milan, and he was he was okay at best, I would say. He didn't really live up to the hype that he first came into, and then after that he just faded away. He was at Chelsea for a while, but Chelsea loved buying players that are on the hype, and then they just go down from there. I mean, they had Torres,
German
Falcao,
Fernando Torres.
I
German
know.
Fernando Torres.
Yes, Timo Werner. I know we're speaking of, but he still has time. But maybe in a year or 2 years' time, he might be on that list. But but not at the moment. But yeah, Alexandre Pato, and I actually was quite excited because I thought this new when we were watching in the beginning, this Brazilian kid, wonder kid they called him. But yeah, he faded away, and he's also only 31 years old. Does anyone know where he's playing?
Yes, I actually do.
Yeah,
As the
I do
last
also.
time that I checked, Pato was unattached. He was released from Sao Paulo, and he was looking for a club. And
Well, on
for a
Wikipedia it still
Brazilian,
says Sao Paulo, so I don't think he's found one.
I
Or he's still
yeah,
playing.
I believe he was released from Sao Paulo. I think Pato might be unattached at the moment, actually, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, so like, yeah, he's 31. He's not that old, and if Sao Paulo is releasing you, then you've really fallen far away. But yeah, that was mine. So Trev, who did you have as your next player? Does anyone, sorry,
Oh, yeah,
before I move on, does anyone have any arguments against that? Do you think he should not be on that list?
No, I think Alexander Pato is as clear cut as it can get. So the hype
Yeah.
around him was so big
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
and for one reason or another, it just didn't work out.
It didn't help him when he absolutely blitzed Puyol and Piqué in that Champions League game
Yeah.
and rolled it
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
bottom corner. and just showed the world that, hey, this is what I can do, and then still after that just vanished into insignificance. So yeah, no argument there. My next one, speaking of Barcelona, is Bojan Krkic. I think I said that right. I might have butchered it. That kid, what I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video about scoring an absolute shed load of goals at youth level and just not being able to translate it into the top tier of football. I believe I stand corrected, but if I'm not mistaken, Bojan outscored Lionel Messi at Barcelona youth level and broke a couple of Messi's records, and then found himself at Stoke at one point. And I'll be completely honest with you guys, I don't even know where he is now.
So are you putting
I
Boyan
think
as well in that category?
yes, yes.
Yeah, definitely. That's
Bojan
a
would
good
be
shot. Yeah, I forgot about
yeah.
him.
Bojan is my so if I've gone if my second choice is going to be Boyan. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I think
No,
the hype train
100%.
when he was compared to Messi, and he's just, and you know what, guys like Pato they've played World Cups, they've played big Champions League games. At least they might not have individually lived up to hype, but at least they
Played
they
in
were
good
playing
teams.
at clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pato fell apart. I mean, Boyan fell apart completely to the point where I think Roma might have been the biggest club that he played at post Barcelona. Yeah, so for me, my second choice will be Boyan Krkic.
Yeah, a good shot. Clyde, how about you? Who's your second one?
Okay, so my second choice would be Danielson. Not the Arsenal one, but the one who won the World Cup.
Yeah, I'm like also one
He
didn't
actually-
have any hype. I mean, who was
Yeah.
hyping up Denilson? I was like, what is wrong? Like,
Look, to be fair, I think the name Danielson did carry a bit of weight and put a little bit of pressure on
Yeah.
the Arsenal one.
maybe, yeah,
But
yeah.
no, the one who played for Brazil, he won 2 World Cups actually with him, right? So yeah, I think he was part of the '94 and the 2002 squads, right? But in between,
Yeah,
Real Betis actually broke the world's transfer record Real Betis, just put that into perspective.
yeah.
Paid 21 million pounds for, or was it euros? I think it was pounds at the time. So this was, I think, in 98, 99 around there, right? So they broke.
It was at
world
the
record
'98
for-
World Cup.
Yeah.
Danielson was the most expensive player in the world. You're right. It was
Yeah,
'98.
right. You see, so and he effectively the with many Brazilian players, I think homesickness, whatever the case may be, it just didn't work out, and I don't think that the Real Betis environment was the right one for him anyway, because I mean, you're effectively breaking the record for a player who doesn't really have that type of system around him, to as well. And I think he just became a journeyman after all.
Yeah.
He went out on loan. I think he played all across Europe, but it just he was a highly skilled player. Taken out of his comfort zone, it just didn't work out for him.
No, that's right. I don't have any arguments for that. That's a really good shot. Well, my second player, close to home, or actually at home, and I know a lot of Arsenal fans are not going to like this because they absolutely loved him. So did I. But Jack Wilshere, there was tons of hype around him. And to be fair, he did have really, really good qualities, right? Technically gifted. We were talking off air about heart, and he played with his heart on the sleeve. Unfortunately, football is a cruel game if you get a lot of injuries, and he was made of glass. We are taking injuries into consideration. It's the hype that he didn't live up to, the potential. Yeah. Whether it's through injuries, whether it's through other issues, but it was injuries, and I think if he stayed fit, he would have been one of the top midfielders in the world. I really did think. I mean, Xavi and Iniesta, one of them played against him, and they were amazed as to how good Jack Wilshere was, but injuries sent him back, and I mean he recently got released by West Ham, so and he's now I think he's without a club at the moment. And I know a lot of Arsenal fans want him back. I'm like, well, no, we can't like what? Well, to be fair, we are 15, so if he can't if he got released by West Ham, some of the lower league teams like Arsenal should be taking him. But no, I think unfortunately, Jack's time is up with football. Maybe he should go into coaching or something different related to the football. But yeah, playing wise, unfortunately, he didn't live up to his potential, and it is quite sad because he was such a gifted player, and injuries, just took him apart, and now he's chilling at home. So yeah, for me, Jack Wilshere.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any arguments for that, right?
Yeah. No arguments at all.
Yeah.
I think his case is a little bit more sad though, because it's injuries that ultimately curtail his career rather than
that's
poor
what I said, it is sad.
mentality or poor attitude. So that's quite an unlucky one for you.
Yeah. But, well, it is unfortunately the sad reality. Triv, how about what was your third one?
Yeah, my third and final choice for players that just haven't lived up to their hype is Lionel Messi. No, I'm joking. My third choice, a little bit closer to home, like I mentioned earlier, is Ravel Morrison. And I don't even know how
Jesse
many people
Lingard?
know
No?
that name. No,
But he still potential. He still has potential. Sorry, I had to get that in. Come on.
Listen, Danny, who edits these videos, if you can find that GIF of Jesse Lingard dancing at the Emirates,
he's going to crop this part out.
I really appreciate.
You're telling him to part. No, that's so good. He's good. Sorry, bro. Continue. I'm done. That's
so
all
anyway,
I can only banter, man. My club is shit. So
you go for it.
Let me have this 5 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, we might not even be able to talk about your club when we talk about Premier League clubs next season. So
why? You can talk about Championship clubs.
We'll let you.
That's a bit biased.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so my last choice, Ravel Morrison. I don't even know how many people out there know that name anymore.
I do actually.
But there was he was a Man United youth team player, and I remember Rio Ferdinand doing his very best to sort of put his arm around him and try and drag him through. And we'll speak at the end sort of about some of the reasons that these players have fallen apart. But Rio Ferdinand, I know Rio and other players at Man United, first team players, thought very highly of him. Couldn't cut it. He was released from Man United, never made it to the first team, and despite players, there were Man United players and coaching staff that said that he was the most talented youngster that they've ever seen play at the football club. And considering that this was during Sir Alex Ferguson's era, I think that's quite a big statement to be hanging around Ravel Morrison's name. Moved to Lazio, never worked out from him. And the last that I heard, he had a trial with Sheffield United going into last season's Premier League and just couldn't cut it. And now I think Ravel Morrison's career is properly over. So I think for me, on a United front, Ravel Morrison is definitely someone that it's quite a shame that he just never got to even... Unlike Pato and guys like Robinho, who at least showed what they were made of before they fell apart, Morrison never even made it that far. So third choice for me, Ravel Morrison.
But wait, can I just ask you, if when we are talking about players, right? So there was a hype around it. If he didn't show anything, then can you really consider him like a hype player? You know what I mean? Like if it was only a few people really looking at it, but I actually do know about him, so I'm sure there was a bit of hype. But because they didn't show anything at a level at a decent level, can we then put players on that category?
Yeah, so I like like we mentioned at the start of the video, there's loads of things that can sort of contribute towards a player being put into these categories, and one of them is sort of media hype, journalist hype, and coach hype. It was the coaches at Manchester United that put Morrison into this category. Freddie Adu's another one that we never actually saw dominate on a European level. He was really good for a 14-year-old. But yeah, for me, Ravel Morrison does make this list. He makes this list purely
Okay.
because of the hype that was created by
Yeah, yeah.
the all-star Man United management at that time.
Okay. Well, no, fair enough. And I guess the hype from players and coaches is more valuable than
Then
someone just sitting
journalists,
at home
right?
and watching. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay. Clyde, what was your third and last pick? I think we'll go with three picks.
So my last pick is Theo Walcott. So again, in a similar way to some of the things that I mentioned about Pogba would maybe apply to Walcott over here, but I think for different reasons, Walcott didn't live up to his initial hype. I think, technical ability, he had all of the attributes to become a top class player. And if you look at it, Walcott was coming through at a time when wide forwards were becoming a thing as well, because just around that time we were transitioning from number nines to more, your wide goal scorers, right? And if you look at the wide forwards that we look at as the benchmark for them in modern day football, you think of the likes of Salah, Mane, and then the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, all of these guys, top class players who have largely played out wide. Okay, and Walcott has all the attributes. He's a decent finisher. He's got space. He's got the speed and so on. But looking at his statistics, he played. So according to what I'm seeing here, 397 games for Arsenal, which is not bad. Okay, 108 goals. Again, nothing to be sniffed at. Of course, and then his total career appearances 513, but 126 goals. So not bad at all, right? It equates to roughly about one goal in 4 games and so on. But I think that he had the attributes to be an elite level wide forward, at least a one in two, 1 in 3 type of player, and he just never ever got to that level for different reasons. I think he obviously got into an Arsenal team with a little bit of transition as well. And, we were having a side discussion about lack of leadership in teams or whatever. And I think he kind of came in at a time when there wasn't that leadership at Arsenal anymore to help, give him the support that he needed. And the burden was kind of falling on him to carry the Arsenal team forward. And he just didn't have that in him, unfortunately. But still a talented player, still a quality player. He's made a good career. He's had a good career, but I think it just could have been so much more, and he should have never been selected for that World Cup. Was it 2006?
That's what
He
created
should
the
have
hype,
never been
right?
taken to it. It set the tone for the rest of his career, and it wasn't his fault.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't again put him in the category because I think he was hyped by the English media. Not so much as the Arsenal fans quickly realized he isn't as gifted as people think he was. He was really quick, a lot of speed. His finishing was decent, but he missed many chances. It's just that he played in a team that created shitloads of chances. So he managed to get a decent amount of goals, but the amount of times he missed really easy chances, there were a number, very, very, very many times. But I just don't think the hype was that big. It was more from the media, and I don't think he was that bad that he didn't fulfill his potential. But it's still a good shout. I just don't think he was. Well, I didn't see him as a player that would take us to the next level ever, even when he was coming through. I thought he was a good player, and if we had a good team around him, he would do well, which he did. I mean, he did okay, but I never thought of him as this elite wonder kid. I thought it was really quick, decent finisher, but yeah. Okay, guys, we are running out of time, so I'm just gonna make this quick. For me again, similar to maybe in the Walcott category, I just couldn't think of anyone else, but I'm gonna go with Robinho. Um, he came to City with a lot of potential, and that was the time that they thought that he was going to make a difference, because they got a lot of money, they were trying to take City to the next level. He came from Real Madrid, and again, like, he had 101 appearances for Real Madrid and only scored 25 goals, which is not a lot for an so-called elite center forward. So yeah, for me, Robinho, I would put him in that category, because he was from after he joined City, I think his career just went down. But before that, he was really, really sought after striker. Another Brazilian in the list. There's quite a few of them. But yeah, any arguments on that?
No.
I just said to just quickly sum up Robinho and the Robinho pick and the Walcott pick. I think a lot of it comes down to what we expect from these players. So if you saw Theo Walcott as the star boy, then I completely agree with what Clyde is saying. If you saw Robinho as a star boy, then it makes sense. Like I personally agree with Rail with regards to Theo Walcott. I always thought he was a bit of a speed merchant, and therefore I actually think Walcott had a really good career. But I do understand the hype sort of around him, and if you look at it from that point of view, 100%.
Sure.
He never. I don't think Theo Walcott ever managed to sort of certify himself as a starter at Arsenal.
No,
and if you consider somebody
that's
that was,
thing.
yeah.
Because he wanted to play
so
as a centre forward, right? And we had Van Persie, and we had even Adebayo was better than.
And he was definitely not a centre forward either.
And he was not, but he was so adamant to be a centre forward that it never really worked out from him. But yeah, he's a good player. But that's all. Trev, you wanted to add something because we're running out of time, so.
I don't. I know Clyde had a question for us, and maybe we can end on that that question.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask the question: is just summarize quickly? What do you think largely contributes to players not fulfilling their potential?
Should I go first, or Trev, you want to go?
Yeah, you can go for it, bro.
Yeah. So one is obviously injuries. That's a quite obvious one. Secondly is also, we already mentioned, like, who is hyping them up, right? If it's the fans and the media, then they don't really see the player behind the scenes during training and how good he actually is, right? It's like they pick a handful of games that they've shown glimpses, so that's not a real measure for me. Like if a whole general media like the Theo Walcott, it's the English media that hyped him up, because they thought, oh, this might be the next England star, but he wasn't there. So those are some of the things that I think. And also, like, they're human beings, man. So if something happens in their personal life that can affect. I know there's one, Adriano. Do you remember? Again, Brazilian.
Yeah.
I think he would also be in that category because he had a lot of potential, and he did show it for a short period. But again, he had issues. He had a lot of issues, and now he had to go back to he ran to Brazil, and we never saw him again in football. So, yeah, Trev, what about you?
I think for me, so I'm not going to obviously touch on what you spoke about, but things like personal issues in terms of, like, Ravel Morrison had, shall we say, gangster related issues, so things like that. Number two is the expectations themselves that we place on players, like to a certain percentage of fans out there. Wayne Rooney never reached his potential, My question to that will always be whose potential? Because he's top scorer at Manchester United, he's top scorer for England. He can't really have done anything more than that, considering that he largely played for one club and can only play for one country. So I think that's another aspect. And then the third aspect in the video that I'd like to do later on, gents, is the impact of agents or people in and around these kids, and whether
Very,
it's
very
whether
good
it's beneficial, yeah, whether it's beneficial or not beneficial. I know Mina Raiola has a lot of hate out there, but there's a lot of kids, especially coming from South America or poorer countries, that they see these dollar signs and they just lose it completely. Whereas I think agents do have the ability to sort of manage these kids a little bit more. So are they positive? Are they negative? So I think having that team around you as a wonder kid. How about you, Clyde?
Yeah, I think just quickly, there was a player called Michael Johnson at Manchester City
Yeah.
around
Yeah, I
2008.
remember him.
He actually retired. He actually gave up football by 2011, 2012 because he was going through mental issues, and he ended up abusing alcohol. He was suffering with depression. His weight spiraled out of control. It was such a sad story to hear because at that time he was being linked with moves to bigger clubs, and well, I'm saying bigger clubs because City weren't the City of now.
Yeah.
And it was such a sad story because even when you hear the former players like people like Ericsson, Sven and Ericsson, Dietmar Hamann, who was playing for City at the time, Roberto Mancini, they all spoke so highly of him. So yeah, and I think it's a nice one that you mentioned there, Trev. Do players make the moves too soon? Move away from home too soon? I think that plays a big part in players' development as well. Because someone like Bojan Krkic, for example, you think if he played in a technical environment conducive
We have
to
1 minute
maybe
left,
he would
guys.
have been a better player. But I think that about you'll feel that summed it up quite nicely. Yeah?
Great, guys. That was a great
Yeah.
chat. Viewers, if there are people watching, let us know what players you think might go in that category. It'll be interesting to know your views. I say this in every show, but no one comments. Clyde, you do, so thank you. But thanks, Clyde. I saw you the team you put up. So yeah,
Yes.
if there's anyone else that can comment, and you can come on and have your say. So hit that like button, subscribe, share, and come on the show. All our information will be in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of the football weekend or wherever you're watching this. And we'll see you all soon. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Goodbye.